Teacher Talking Sports, what it does, what it do, how we live in. It was a fairly lengthy period of time that George Karl was Carmelo Anthony's coach with the Denver Nuggets. Now, Melo was drafted in the 2003 NBA draft, and George Karl joined the Nuggets about halfway through the 2004-05 season. Melo played with the Nuggets until the 2010-11 season, a little more than halfway through that season. Of course, we know he requested a trade. It was granted. He went to the New York Knicks. So somewhere close to 6 full seasons of Melo and Karl. The team did make the Western Conference Finals in the 2008-09 season, where they fell to the Los Angeles Lakers. Well, it's been clear ever since that, more than a decade since they've left each other, that they are not very fond of each other, and they have taken shots, barbs at each other throughout the years, and it just keeps on continuing. So this is via New York Times, February 17th, so 3 days ago. Carmelo Anthony still floored by first George Karl interaction, going to have issues. So he mentioned on his 7 p.m. to Brooklyn podcast uh, that the two had a conflict-filled relationship that started that way from the jump. We was going to have issues. Anthony began. Excuse me. Anthony explained that Karl's first game coaching the Nuggets was going to be against the Bucks, who Karl had a fractious split with and was out for revenge. Mentions we got in Milwaukee. After shoot around, he called me to his room and was like, "Hey, I think you're overrated. You have a lot of work to do." Anthony recalled his mindset at the time he started that narrative. "Look, I know I've got a long way to go in this league, but my man, you just got here," Anthony said. Anthony then remembered Karl saying his role in the team would be like Detlef Schrempf's was under Karl on the Seattle Supersonics. I mean, Detlef Schrempf was a very good player. I would never disparage him. 3-time All Star, nowhere near the scorer Carmelo was. Uh, but we see George Karl answers back, "Hey, Carmelo Anthony, let's not do this. You're telling stories that are 20 years old. Let's move forward." I mean, George Karl hasn't exactly moved forward with some of the things. He wrote a book where he mentions a lot of his old players. That wasn't moving forward, but I move on. "And you were overrated, and you wish your game was as efficient as deadlifts." You think it was done after that? I mean, I think Carmelo responded with laughing emojis, but this was yesterday on George Karl's X page. "Happy birthday to the champ, the ultimate team guy, and the greatest player to wear number 15 in Denver Hoops history." To be fair, Jokic, I would consider him the best Nugget of all time already. Um, Other guys, of course, are Melo, Alex English, Dan Issel, Dikembe Mutombo, but Jamal Murray. But I think Jokic tops all of them, so he didn't even have to put number 15. But look at who he tagged: Carmelo Anthony. It's kind of sad to say, um, George Karl's 74 years. I think he's 74. Let me double check that. 72 years old. I'm sorry, George. And Carmelo's going to be 40 in May. But it's kind of like the Ja Rule and 50 Cent of the NBA, in that it just doesn't end. They've taken barb shots at each other pretty much since Melo left the team. George Karl mentioned him all over his book. And I'm going to be honest, when George Karl was inducted in the Hall of Fame, I questioned it. I mean, don't get me wrong, he coached for a long time, 1,175 wins to 824 losses, won NBA Finals in, let me see, 27 seasons in the league as a coach, and a playoff record of 80 and 105. I don't know. Personally, I'm not sure I would have voted him in. I think there might have been more, more deserving coaches that aren't in yet. But I don't think it was egregious. I just want to do it. And I mean, I don't think Carmelo's really overrated at this point. Maybe I'm a little biased. I'm a Knicks fan, but no one's putting him in their top 10, top 20, maybe top 20 scorer of all time. But I think he's mostly properly rated, in that he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. You can't really debate that. But again, no one's putting him in their top 20, top 30. Not many people are putting him in their top 50. So I think he's pretty properly rated. Um, what do you think? Is George Carl? Just George Carl need to just put this behind. I mean, it's not like Melo's story was that bad where he completely trashed George Carl. And, George Carl just continues to go on and on and on. Let's see if I make another video of this in a few months or who knows. But what do you think? Don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.